All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Jordan Mai. I'm a team leader in Georgia, and I just want to shout out to all my line guides and my team. Um, I am going to talk today about the invitation process that I have that I use and that I have grown to love. Had a lot of people ask me about it. I used to use Margot when it was fully integrated with Facebook, and it was a really great jumping off point, really to teach me how to, schedule and teach me about follow-up and messaging and all of that stuff. But I found Evite is a little bit more user-friendly, and I'm going to introduce you to that. Some of you may already be users of Evite, which is great because you already have your profile then. So I'm just going to show you how I use it for the purposes of my business. So I'm going to share my screen here. And we're going to pop over onto my desktop. Here we go. Okay, so I don't use Facebook. I do everything through Evite. I do my host coaching directly with my host, and then together we do the guest coaching all through Evite. So I'm going to just show you how to set it up. The first thing that you would need to do is log in, and if you don't have a login for Evite already, just set up your profile. So here, I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And then we're going to create an invitation. Like Margot, Evite is a multifaceted platform. So you can do many invitations through Evite. You can pay or you can use the free option. And we're going to stick with the free option. So I'm going to click that button. If you want to use some of Traveling Vineyard's amazing photos and branded images, you would click here for the general design your own, and I do that often, especially if there is a fun theme that we've already got graphics for. But for today, I'm just going to type in wine tasting in the search category. I'm going to click that free Evite button again, and you can see that there's quite a few invitations here and multiple pages that would work for us. So I'm going to click on, here we go, for the love of wine. How about that? Valentine's Day is coming up. That's going to pop in the cute little graphic here, and I'm going to personalize it by saying Mary's my host, sip and shop wine tasting. The event type is already pre-populated because of my search. Now, because I'm logged in as myself, Jordan Mai, it's automatically going to recognize me and my email address. So when I comment or send messages for this invitation, it's going to recognize me because I'm setting up the invitation. But you can see up here, it actually uses my name because it says hosted by. I don't want my name on this invitation. So I'm just going to put Mary's name. And then I'm actually going to go through the motions of adding Mary as my co-host. So we're going to do Mary Merlot and her address. And then the event date, I said was, let's do it the day before Valentine's Day and set the time. You can add an end time if you would prefer. I usually just keep the start time here. Phone number, we're going to put Mary's phone number. For location name, Mary's home, or if it is an off-site, put the name of the site or the clubhouse or whatever. Just remember, it does need to be closed to the public, and if it is a place of business, they cannot have a liquor license. So no restaurants, bars, things like that. And then we're going to be on 1, 2, 3. Cabernet Street. Mary's got the best address, doesn't she? And then city. Okay. And then here is where I'm going to drop in the details of my event. And I just use, you know, the generic wording that Debbie has put out there. I say generic, but it's a very quite specific, gives the details of the events. If you need that wording, just reach out to your upline or let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. And that's going to take us to the next page, where this is where you or your host is going to be able to add the guests. Now, look up here. This is the best. Add guests by email or phone number. So it's a very flexible invitation. If your host only has phone numbers for her guests, all she has to do is write in Corey, Cabernet, and then Corey's phone number. And then Corey's added. And then let's do Sally Syrah. And I have Sally's email address. So let's do sally@syrah.net. Okay, so whether you use an email or a phone number, they're going to receive the same invitation. It's just going to go by the mode that they have listed here. So Corey is going to be receiving his text invitation, and Sally is going to be receiving her email invitation. So that's a really good point to note. I am not adding any of these guests because that's my host responsibility. One other thing on this page, these are already pre-done for me, but I want just double check when you're setting up. This might be affiliated with my profile. For notifications over here on the right, please go ahead and click notify me when guests RSVP. I kind of want to know what's going on. And then notify me of event activity. So that's going to be really important. So if somebody RSVPs and they leave a note like, I'm so bummed, I'm going to miss this, I'm going to be out of town, I want to know that, because then I can personalize a message back specifically to that person. I can comment on their comment. And I can kind of find out, is this just a bad date? You know, if I've got really low attendance, is this just a bad date for everyone? Are people pumped about it? Maybe moving the date might be helpful. Or is this just not something that they're into? Like, sorry, I don't drink, or, you know, I'm pregnant, or whatever. Either way, it allows me to reach out to them and personalize my message to them. You know, maybe they want to host a wine tasting on their own, maybe after the baby is born, if they're pregnant, or when they get back into town. I don't want them to miss the wine, so maybe they can find a date that works for them and invite their friends. I don't hide the guest list unless my host asks me to. And then I do allow guests to bring people to the event, because sometimes the host says bring 1 to 2 friends. Fantastic. They can share that invitation. I uncheck allow guests to indicate the number of kids, because obviously this is 21 and over event. I do allow the guests to share the event. And I love this too. I check that I'd like to collect photos from the guests, because I'm presenting, I don't always have a chance to take pictures. I designate 1 to 2 people before the event starts to be the official event photographer. And, you know, I give them creative license. I mean, you can take any pictures at any time. And I sometimes give them a nudge right before we do the Skittle or a jelly bean demonstration when everybody's holding their nose. Hilarious. I also give them a little heads up before we do the lemon grape, because those are some great pictures to share. And then they can share those photos right in the invitation for all of the people who attended or were not able to come, so they can kind of see how much fun we had. And then this is an important feature, event reminders. You can set up to 2. Because I set my invitations a month in advance, I always do the halfway mark at 2 weeks. And then I do another one anywhere between 5 and 7 days. It really just depends on my host, and if she's a nervous Nelly and a huge planner, I like to set that for a week out so that she has plenty of time. If she's kind of he or she is a fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy or gal, 5 days is plenty of time to wrap up that final host list. So then I'm going to finish and send. And when I finish and send, that prompts the system to go ahead and send an invitation to my co-host. And all they have to do is accept. In the meantime, I also send them either a personalized text or an email that says, "Hey, Mary, I was able to set up your invitation. You should be receiving an invitation directly from Evite as my co-host. Please accept, and you can start adding your guests' phone numbers or emails at any time." And so I just give them a heads up and let them know, do you have any questions? Okay, so that's the whole setup of the email, and I can show you what it looks like when the host receives. Sorry, I should have logged into my other account. Okay, look, so it says Jordan and this would say Mary Merlot if I was Mary Merlot. You've been invited to co-host an event. All they have to do is click on it. They see the name of the event and they're like, oh wow, that's the invitation that I'm working with Jordan. And so it says you can now edit the invitation, invite guests, and manage the event. Please use this email to sign in or register your account. So I've already talked to Mary in advance and asked her if she has an Evite account and which email address, so that she doesn't have to set up a new account. Like I have 2 Evite accounts, one for my business and one for personal. So I don't care where I get my invitations. It's up to my friends. But if I was doing something with my host, I want to make sure that they are using the correct one. So then Mary can click on that and she goes right to the host dashboard. Easy peasy. It's already showing me and Mary as the co-host. So here is exactly where she can get started. In my email to her or my text, I ask her to please review the invitation. So she's going to go to edit details and just look it over. Yes, that's my phone number. Yes, that's the date and time we agreed upon. Yes, that is the correct address. If there are any changes, Mary can change them herself right here in this, detail section. She can read all of the details of in my wording that I suggest. I do ask if my host makes any changes just to give me a heads up before they start adding their guests. Just want to make sure that they don't delete anything vital. And of course, we've had that conversation before, but my expectations, it has to be a 21 and older event. It is a try before you buy. So I do have the wording in there about if you choose to buy, we accept MasterCard, Visa, Discover, those things that I really want to get across to my guests. Those are non-negotiables. She can't take those out, okay? And so then she would update and send her guest. So go back to manage invitation, and here's where she can add it to calendars. She can let's see, add guests, which is what we're going to do now. I'm going to go back to my Corey Cabernet. And 555. Okay, so we have a couple of guests added, and let's say they go out. I am notified when my host sends her invitation out. So if she sends a big group, let's say she adds 10 today, and then she adds 5 tomorrow, I get a notification every time. It'll say something like, you know, Mary added 10 guests to the invitation. Mary sent 5 invitations. So I can kind of keep track, and I can see that Mary is following directions and she's getting people added. So I am going to, at some point, message the guests. This is my favorite feature because Mary or myself are going to be able to do this. And all of this box here is going to be populated with every single guest because I'm showing everyone. That's just the default. So it's going to show everybody that Mary invited. And so let's say we're about a week in. We haven't sent the reminder yet because the reminder's for 2 weeks, and I just want everybody to get excited. We might have a few no's, we might have some maybes, but most likely if your friends are like mine or Mary's friends, they've not yet replied. Because who has their calendar updated that far in advance? Not many. So most of them are not yet replied. So I'm going to click Show Everyone, select All. So that's going to check every single person on the guest list. And the subject says message about Mary's sip and shot wine tasting. And I'm going to put a message here about Mary and I are so excited to share some great wine with you. This is where I would talk about a theme. If we've chosen a theme, get them pumped up about that. We cannot wait to see you. I know everybody is busy, but this is just such a great way to get everybody together for a casual and fun evening away from all of those commitments. So that's what I would send, and we'd push there. You can also send messages to just individual categories. So if we get much closer to the event, most likely I'm going to start out with my no RSVPs and say, you know, we're so sorry. I'm so sorry we'll miss you at the event. I know Mary was excited to catch up with you, and, you know, or I'll say something like, you know, I'm sorry this date doesn't work for you. But then I will offer a chance for them to contact me and set up their own wine tasting, or, you know, and or put the link there for shopping because I don't want them to miss out on the wine. So there's 2 opportunities for them. They can either host their own tasting so they don't miss out on the wine, or they can go ahead and add their wine order and Mary will get credit for it. So that verbiage is going to go out to all my no's. My maybe RSVPs, boy, I'm going to just make this sound so fun and exciting that they just don't want to miss it. So I make sure that I tell them how much fun we're going to have, and you know, maybe that we're trying 5 different bottles from around the world, and to please double check their schedules and let Mary know if they can make it. Now, the not yet replied. This is a fantastic feature because not only will I be able to send a specific message to them, but I will also be able to see here in my guest list, looky here, Mary Merlot, not yet replied and not viewed. So I can see if Mary has even opened the invitation, and I can see that for every single guest. So after that 2-week reminder goes out, I am on it. I am looking to see who hasn't viewed it. And I am letting Mary know as my host, hey, I know things get lost in the shuffle, but these 4 people have not yet viewed the invitation. Is there another form of contact that you can use, or would you mind reaching directly out to them? I would hate for them to not be included because they missed the invitation. And so then Mary knows exactly who to reach out to and ensure. And sometimes they will say, oh my gosh, yes, I saw it on my phone, but I didn't have a chance to click on it. Fantastic. Sometimes Mary finds out that she only has their spam email address and they don't really check that very often. So then she might get a phone number and send the invitation to the phone number. So it's a really great way to manage it. And I love this feature. I'll also be able to see who viewed it and the day that they viewed it. And then if they have replied, of course, the status is right here. The other thing is that, let's say, Mary doesn't have the right contact information, but she runs into the person at the store and they say, oh my gosh, I would love to come. Yes, I will be there. She can go in and edit the status and she can put, yes, that person is coming. So she can RSVP for the person, or maybe she's invited her mom and her mom is not tech savvy and has no idea what Evite is or didn't know to click on it, but she talks to her mom every day and her mom is planning to come and bring Aunt Betty. So let's just say, she says yes, and she can change the RSVP to 2 adults. So that is a super cool feature too. There's just a lot of functionality with this. So that's pretty much how I use it. Messages that, sometimes I'll put a teaser into the whole group about what's to come and, maybe any incentives that we have, any guest rewards that are coming up. I might drop in there that Mary's looking for 3 people to host their own tasting so she can get a half-price accessory. So I might put that out there and see if I can get any bookings before we even get to the event. It just really kind of depends on the event, the host, and the amount of comments and chatter we get between the 2 of us. So that is all leading up to the event. Once the event takes place, this is awesome. I, as a host, along with Mary, get a reminder to thank our attendees. Evite automatically sends it out, and it's just a really nice, oh, yes. So, I always plan to follow up. If I've already done it, great, check that box, I'm feeling accomplished. But if I haven't, it's a great reminder to reach out to everyone that not only attended, but those that didn't get a chance to attend. And I include my digital business card in with that message because you do have an opportunity to drop in a visual. And so I do that. At that point, I also encourage everyone to share their photos that they've taken. So a lot of times, the invitation will be just that. It'll just be an RSVP system all the way up to the event. And then boom, the community comes alive at the end when people are sharing comments like, oh, thank you so much, Mary, for inviting me. I learned so much about wine and I had a great time. That comment goes to everybody on the invitation. Somebody shares photos, those photos go to everybody on the invitation. So it really is like your little private community. There are some inside jokes. There are some photos that we tease. What happens at a wine tasting stays at a wine tasting. If I've had my host maybe demonstrate the wine saver and she takes it a little too far and there's visuals and sound effects. You know, it's hysterical, but we've had videos and pictures of stuff like that, which is really fun, but it's not necessarily something that you want to post out there on social media. So we have a really nice rapport going on. And if there's a nice group picture, I ask if it's okay if I share it on my business page, and I usually get a thumbs up. So that is Evite. That is how I use it. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know if you have any specific questions. If you run into any issues, I'm not hugely tech savvy, which is another reason I love Evite, because it is so easy to use. But if you want to give it a shot, please do. But just do whatever works for you. I know a lot of people have success with other invitation systems, and that is awesome. This is your business, but I just wanted to share. I've had quite a few questions from my team, and I thought this was just the best way to get that information out. So best of luck to you. Happy wine tasting. Cheers.